Where you will never catch me again, friends, at an Airway conference of any type, to be totally honest. And I'm going to tell you today why that is the very best, probably the most profitable, and the smartest strategic decision that I could have ever made for my business, and how you can get here too. So, first and foremost, I'm Carice Laguerre. I'm your Myo best friend. There we go. I'm your Myo best friend, and I'm always here to routinely present to you without any sort of gatekeeping all the information that you need about myofunctional therapy. And today it's going to be about airway conferences. But as usual, give me a hi, hello in the chat. That way I know you can hear me, you can see me, and I'm giving you my warmest of welcomes today because we got a lot of intimate stuff to kind of talk about when it comes to conferences. I know everybody feels kind of passionate about Airway, particularly if you're here, if you've been watching any of the 60 hours of content that I have free and available on YouTube, in LinkedIn, and on the Myo community on Facebook, then you know you are an Airway geek. You are part of the cult. Welcome to our club, our wonderful little rabbit hole that we hope we can pull as many people down into as possible. But I want you to stay connected, and I want to grow because I am all about us elevating to excellence, and you cannot elevate to excellence as a field, one, with gates, where you are gatekeeping and you are not helping others to grow. You're just providing them links to a bunch of different random expensive courses, promising them that there's going to be lots of information inside. No, I'm all about giving you the information now. That way we can be our best selves. So subscribe, turn on those notifications so that you know when I go live, and you will never miss any of this good content. I also, if you comment, share, these things help increase reach, and it gets other people into our worlds. Okay, we got to keep the whole thing growing. All right, my friends. Now, let's get back on topic. Why am I not attending Airway conferences? You're like, but Carice, that's what you do. You do Airway. Like, it doesn't make sense for you to not go to Airway conferences. Yeah, I've been to a lot of Airway conferences just like you. And I am certain that when you come home, you've got a whole lot of new trinkets, because that's essentially what we all get there, right? We go and we want the things. Gimme, 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 gimme. It makes me think of Sweetie. Like, what's my favorite word? Swag. Like, swag has to be like the thing everybody's looking for when you go to a conference. You want the toothbrushes, you want the toothpaste, you want the samples, you want the pens, you want the clickers, you want any of the squishies, you want the things. But did you really pay hundreds of dollars, travel, take time off of work, time away from your family? Like, did you do all of that for swag? Because that seems to be the big thing that we all carry away from these conferences, and nobody's talking about it. So, what I want us to get into a mindset of is, if not Airway, then where? Am I saying like no conferences? No, I'm not saying no conferences. I'm saying be really smart about where you're spending your time and your energy, because Airway has just not put in the ROI into my particular business. Now, I don't know how everybody else is practicing Myo. This is a very small, small world. And I can tell you that there's not many people doing it full time. And there's not many people doing it full time doing it solo. So I have been doing myofunctional therapy since 2017. And in that time, for a good chunk of at least five, it's got to be 5 or 6 of those years, I've been doing it as the main sole provider of income for my family of 6. I travel, I do conferences, I lecture, I teach, yes, but the Myo spot is what really puts money in the bank, what helps to pay the mortgage, what gets all the bills paid. Like, it's the Myo spot. And so it's really important that you're mindful of who you're listening to and why you're listening to them. I need you to know that I do Myo in a real way that does produce actual income, okay? Income that is enough to sustain me as a sole provider without my husband working or with him just working in the business, in our business, that we're able to sustain ourselves off of Myo. Does that mean that you'll get there? I don't know. I don't know if your grit is my grit. I don't know if your grind is my grind. I don't know if you're going to be able to do what I do. But I can tell you that if you take my advice here today in this, you'll be coming out of your next conferences with significantly more than a bag full of swag. Okay. You'll still get some swag, but more than the swag. Okay. Because everybody wants that ROI. It's all fun and games when you're at a conference and you're chit chatting and you're seeing all your favorite people, because Airway is super small. So you're seeing all those people that you may only interact with online, and it makes you feel really good. But does that good feeling go back home and pay your rent for your office? Does it go back home and pay for supplies? Does it go back home and pay for that day that you canceled a patient's, the 2, 3, 4 days you canceled a patient's, all of the expenses of eating, the traveling, the accommodations? Did it pay for all of that, all those good feelings? Oh, well, Carice, I'm just going to write it off. Awesome. Love that you're writing it off. But writing it off and still not making a return on what's supposed to be a business investment, not a business expense just to shadow and hide money from the government, but like a real investment in the business to help it grow. Do you get paid more money because you went and you've learned some more information at a really, really high cost? No, right? So we got to consider what we're really getting, because sometimes some of what we think we get, we kind of trick ourselves into believing that we've gotten and we've acquired. So the ROI is what we actually need to be getting. But how do you determine if you're getting true ROI? And I really need you to sit with this. Okay. Does attending an Airway conference bring you more money in than it expends? What does it take for you to quantify that? Is that more patients? Is that more leads, prospective patients or clients? Is that you getting more referrals, more referring providers? Because there's a big, big problem, and we're going to dive into it a little later, with the expectation that you're going to go to a conference with a bunch of people who already know about Airway, who probably already have a local myofunctional therapist, one or two, or may have multiple in their own office, and thinking that, oh, yeah, I'm going to go, I'm going to network, and I'm going to get referrals. They're referring somewhere else already. That's it, boo boo. We don't need you for virtual. There's so many people out there who have prominent, social media presence, SEO, or they're just out there with ads and so forth. And so they're getting the virtual business. We don't need you for that. We can refer out. So there's a little bit of like allure to like, oh yeah, I'm going to get some referrals. You probably aren't going to walk in there and meet anybody who's so wowed by doing myofunctional therapy when you're in a room of myofunctional therapists and a room full of people who already know what it is. So just consider, what is it that it would take for you to be bringing back more money than you have expense to be there, especially when you consider that you have to be able to account for the time away from your business. So if I am away at a conference, and my next conference, I'm going to be at RDH Under One Roof, so excited about that. And yes, that is totally going to bring me in more than it expends. And we'll talk about that in a second. Will we? I don't think that's on my agenda, but I can talk about it. Throw it in the comments if you want to know about it. But for that event, I'm going to be away from my business for a full Thursday, a full Friday, a full Saturday. Okay. When I'm away for those 3 days, I could book potentially, if I'm at my capacity. Well, mental capacity is something totally different from like actual capacity. But if I'm at my capacity for the Myo spot, I could be seeing 15 people. And if I'm seeing 15 people at my hourly rate, I'm giving up thousands of dollars for 3 days. Okay. 3 days. I'm giving up thousands, okay? 2,000 and change. Now, when we consider that, we have to now take a step back and we have to say, okay, um, am I going to make more money than I've just stopped by blocking out my calendar? And I want you to think about that for your business. Do the math. Can you account for that time away from your business? Even more priceless. Can you account for the time that you're going to be away from your household? 2023 was the most fabulous year I've ever had. I was on a high. I'm an international speaker twice over. By 2023, I had spoken in Kenya after speaking in Vancouver. And I was out in Kenya, in Africa, living my very best life. I have the most beautiful blogs about that experience. And when I go back and read it, it touches my heart. I really did enjoy Kenya. I went to Mexico a little bit previously with some of my family, and that was fabulous. It was like a girl's cousin's trip. It was fabulous. I went to Jamaica actually a little bit before that too with my husband for one of my best friend's weddings. And then later on in the year, I went to a bunch of different conferences. I can't even tell you how many. I went to a lot of different conferences, held my own conference in 2023 too, as well as was able to go to Peru on a business trip as well. And in all of that, I gotta tell you, by far, between the fact that I travel to New Jersey back and forth, and I am all over the place, all over the map with speaking then, and I was at all these events, and I was the most networked I had ever been in my whole life, I was also the saddest. 2023 was a very, very sad year for me. I don't think I had ever experienced depression on the level that I experienced depression. More so valuable than the time that I took away from my business was the time that I took away from my home. It didn't fill my heart to be out there like that. And I think that's the most important takeaway that you might be able to take from this one slide or this one section of this. Even if you say you're only going to do 2 conferences a year, if one of them is Airway, I guarantee you, one, you're not going to get your return on investment. And don't worry, we're going to keep diving in on that. But it's really not worth the time away from home. And you can do the very same thing much more effectively without taking that time away from your household. If you love to travel, travel, please. And if you're single and you're out there and you just want to be out there, travel, please. But for me, it just did not fill my heart and soul in the way that I thought it would. And it wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth it at all. Very, very high professional, very, very low personal. Okay. Airway. Airway conferences, everybody goes to them and everybody's super excited. But we have to remember conferences are super expensive. As a conference owner, I had Dental Culture Con. We had it in person in February in Hollywood, Florida. No, it wasn't in Hollywood. Where was it? It was near Hollywood, Florida. Anyway, we had it in Florida, and it was a $40,000 event. $40,000 event, and it maxed out at 50 participants. Like, that's what we had. So I want you to take that number and I want you to think of the biggest Airway conference you've been to and just imagine how many hundreds of thousands they probably spent to have all of those attendees if it took roughly $40,000 for a 50-person event to happen. With that, you want to make sure that there's ROI for you as a conference owner. You have to be able to get the vendors, the people, and the traffic that they want, because the vendors are all looking for business. So that means that all the attendees, you're essentially like, walking prospects for every single vendor. They want you to go to the vendor hall. They need that push. Then, on top of that, to get all of those people, you're going to have very entry level content. So, most of it is entry level. Some of it might be intermediate. None of it is going to be advanced because everybody has to be able, it has to be content that's going to reach the broadest audience and the broadest group. So if you're interested in Airway, you're probably going thinking, oh, I'm going to go get like all this great information and I'm going to learn how to do Airway. You're not going to learn how to do Airway. You might get a quick thing about screening, but we are tactile professionals. That's what we do. We touch things. We like to get our hands on things. We do. We can't just hear it sitting in the conference room, pretending we're not bored, pretending we're not playing that game on our phone, pretending we're not answering emails when we have our computer up, acting like we're taking notes. Yes, there are some people who are very attentive and who are trying to get as much as they can out of it. But how much do you really learn in an hour long lecture? How much do you really learn in a 2 hour long lecture? How much of that do you retain? How many of your notes do you go back to? It's going to be surface level. You can't dive deep because the message has to be spread wide. And if the message has to be spread wide enough for the broadest audience, that way people are attracted enough. They don't feel deterred by, oh no, I can't go to that conference because I'm not at that level yet. I can't. What? No. You don't want to detract people as a conference owner. You want the broadest group. So it's all going to be surface level. So if you're thinking you're going and you're going to learn something that's revolutionary, or it's just going to just change the absolute trajectory of how you do what you do, I'm here to tell you that you've learned more from some YouTube videos that you've put on that, or mine or anyone else's, and you put on a lecture on repeat, and maybe you went back and you listened to it again, or maybe you took some notes or there was a practical takeaway. You've gotten more from that than you have from most conferences you've attended in the last year or so. It's all going to be surface level content. So what do you need it for? And like a good bit of these Airway conferences are having more shorter talks where that person you've been looking to hear speak is probably only going to be on stage for 15, 30, 60 minutes, period. You could go to most dental conferences now, and a lot of the lectures are 2 to 3 hours, some of 3.5. When I got asked to do 2, 3.5 talks, I was like, are you crazy? Like, I'm going to be exhausted. I have to talk all day like that? That is wild. But that's how people get the most out of it. Like, you're actually able to expand on what it is you're trying to teach. You're not just trying to reach a broad audience in 15 minutes with a topic that's going to be totally irrelevant once they get that next 15-minute speaker, or totally irrelevant once they get that next 30-minute speaker. It just doesn't make sense. So why would you spend money at the high rate of which you would spend it? Why would you spend that money on surface level content? It really doesn't make sense, right? Like, you're not going to get that deep investment that you would like. Networking. Oh, this is an illusion unlike any illusion I've ever seen before. And I love a good magic trick, but I think we all know, or I don't know, I don't want to burst any bubbles, but there's no such thing as magic, all right? So we know that these are all illusions when we see a David Blaine doing a trick and we get a card trick, or we have a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. Like, we know the woman's not actually being sawed in half and then put back together. We're very aware of this. In being aware of this, I think it's very important that we're aware of what networking is when it's on these conference floors, particularly in Airway. As a myofunctional therapist, I mean, you're not going to get like deep into any sort of conversations with people that would be meaningful. I can't tell you the number of people that say like, oh yeah, we met at such and such conference. Well, 2023, 2022, all a blur. I've met so many people. Like, I don't remember. There's 3 distinct people who I've gone to that I'm like, I'm so excited to meet you, who in the last year and a half, who have said back to me, we've met already. You don't remember we spoke at such and such? I really don't. I really don't. We might be Facebook friends. We might be LinkedIn friends. I might be seeing your content on a more regular basis, and that's how I get to know you. But that networking thing that you thought we did, oh no, that is not how my brain works. Okay. If I got to meet you one time really quick and we chatted, and I'm like, yeah, I would love to chat more. But by the time we chat more, if it's not within that 1 week, I've already lost it. It's gone out of my mind, and I'm moving forward because there's so many other people to meet. But outside of that, like getting those referrals when you're in a room full of other myofunctional therapists, it's not happening. The chances of you guys cross referring, first of all, if you're going to sit deep and you're going to talk to somebody and you want to know about referrals, I want you to know where they stand with their business. Like, I don't network the way other people network, where you just go and you stand and you chat. Like, I want to go to your office. I want to sit down. Let's have coffee. I want to like talk. Where are you at? Where are you trying to grow to? Are you trying to scale and sell? Are you trying to scale and you've been looking to start Airway, but it's been a little slow? I know not to expect a bunch of referrals from you. I know that you're just kind of getting your feet wet in Airway. And so when I'm telling people and I'm sending people your way, I'm sending people your way with that knowledge. A little newer to Airway, might not have all the answers, but I promise you we're working together. And so we'll collaborate to make sure that you get the best outcomes possible. And so I'm putting my trust in you with my patients. You are putting your trust back in me, and we're getting our cross referrals, but I know that I'm not getting a bunch of business from you right away. So is it worth it for me to spend thousands to go meet you in some other city when I can meet the people who are here, who are right around me in my nearby vicinity, who are more reliable and who are going to likely refer because they know that their patients won't have to travel far, won't have to deal with any sort of virtual. We're shifting, like the whole world is shifting. We had such a prominence and prevalence of virtual and myo and people getting into it when there was COVID. Then we're on a downshift now. I don't know if anybody's aware, but we are certainly on a downshift where there's not as many people who are getting into it as they were before. And Airway is even getting some pushback because the reality of things is that we don't practice evidence based work. Myofunctional therapy is not evidence based, it's eminence based. And so, if you keep that at the forefront, you'll kind of see why we're on a downturn, because people want to be sure that they're going to get their ROI. Money and discretionary income is not as easy to come by. So, joining a myofunctional therapy course on the off chance that maybe, just maybe, you might be good having only the information alone, never having anybody come and mentor you, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? So, you know, networking, it's all an illusion. And what you're really there for as a conference attendee, the people you should be networking with, honestly, are the vendors. You could learn about new things and new products, new innovations in business, new marketing companies, new strategies. Sure. But all of that can be found at home as well. Those companies don't just exist when there's a booth up at a conference. You could also find these people online. They run ads, like they're looking for you, and easily they will find you. So you'll be able to click on that. So with all that said, like, why do we even go to a conference? Like, why do we go to Airway conferences? Let's be real. I get FOMO just as much as the next person. The second I stopped going to absolutely everything and started being more selective with my time, I'm seeing more pictures online. That's what it feels like to me. So I've got my phone and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. They're having a great time. They're at the conference. I wish I was there. I really don't. I genuinely don't wish that I was there. But my mind is making me think that I'm missing out on something that I know I'm not really missing out on. I can meet up with people at any point in time. We are a very tech savvy world. Like, if I really want to have a conversation with anybody, I should be able to book a meeting with them and meet them virtually. We don't need to be in each other's space in order for us to really get to know each other. I have a lot of really good myo friends, a lot of great hygiene friends that I've never met in real life, but we've chatted and we've talked over the computer. I've spent more time with them on this type of platform online than I would have if we ever met at any sort of conference, right? Even if we had a lunch, how long would that lunch take? So we spend more time together offline anyway. But we're going because we're hoping for something, to be totally honest. There's something that we know we're missing out on, right? So you're like, well, it can't be all bad. And when I talk about airway conferences, I just want to be really, really specific. I'm talking about conferences that really do center 100% around airway. Like, there's no blurred lines here where this is a dental conference, because I'll tell you there are pros to dental conferences over airway conferences, that I would choose every single dental conference 100 times over before I would ever choose going to an airway conference. But airway conferences, I think, are really, really irrelevant, and I sincerely hope that they start doing more collaborative work where they team up with an existing dental conference that already gets traffic with a group of people who aren't as familiar but are interested. And then you'll still get the people who go to their local things and they will come. You think the people who are at the Hinman want to travel separately to go to your airway conference? No, that's crazy. But if you have an airway conference or an airway breakout conference at a Hinman, that's genius, absolute genius, because now you're exposing yourself to the people who are already there, who would be excited, would be so excited to sit in on that in conjunction with their required CEs. A lot of places are not accepting these airway CEs as required CEs, but to also get that exposure on that type of stage, on that type of level. So there are some pros, okay? It's a pro to go to an airway conference if you are interested in speaking. Now, I will tell you, for being so well networked, for going a lot of different places, I think you guys have heard me speak. If this is not your first time and there's 60 hours of content here on YouTube, you've heard me speak. Before, like, as networked as I am, I don't get called for speaking gigs. I don't get called for speaking gigs. But when I go and I show up and I show out. And I can't tell you how many of your favorite dentists have told me to my face, I've never heard anybody talk about Myo the way you talk about it. I finally get it after hearing however many things. I would attend this online webinar. I've spoken for this, I've done for that. Like, I do airway. And I never got Myo until the way you spoke about Myo. I know I'm fabulous, okay? I'm witty. I get the room laughing. I keep things going and flowing. I'm not boring. I will change my inflection of my voice so that you get what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you, if you want to attend a conference for speaking gigs, attend a conference with the hope of getting a speaking gig. It might work out like that. I don't know. I don't get those phone calls. And I think there's a lot of other things behind that. But I'm not going to go there. But that might be a pro to attending an airway conference. You're interested in speaking, and so you want to get in front of those people who have that platform. Or you're into consulting, so you help implement airway or Myo into dental practices. And so you've got something that you need to sell, and you've got the exact audience sitting there, ripe and ready. Sure, if you're into consulting, please go to airway conferences. It makes the most sense for you. This is how you're going to find your people, okay? By going. If you're selling to this target audience in any other capacity, like you've created some brand new technique, you've created some brand new thing, and you want to start working it or shopping it around, then absolutely you can go. That way you don't have to be a vendor. You just mix and mingle with the people, and you can kind of network, tell some people about your thing, and hope against hope that it all works out. It's not all bad. There are definitely reasons to go. I just want you to be cautious. I just need you to be cautious of going, thinking that that's the only place where you're going to find the updates or the new trends or like what's going on. Is there new research? It's going to be presented there for the very first time. You know what the first time is? It's just the first time. That's it. It will be presented again. That FOMO, you're not missing out because it comes around. You think they have some new research, they're only going to talk about it this one time and then never again? That's absurd. They spent all that time doing the research. They're going to talk about it. They will be in other places. They might even publish it for free online. or at a cheaper cost on their own platform, they might publish that same lecture. You might be able to access the full PDF. It might be an open access paper of research. Like, you're going to be able to access this information. It is not going anywhere. And I don't know what you think happens, but when people do research papers, they have a whole reference section, like works cited, citations, like all that. Guess what they sourced that information from in order to do or substantiate the work that they did? Other existing research. Like, you can find this stuff online. I'm not a genius. I learn things and then I present them. That's all that's happening. Nobody's just coming up with things and have these high level, Einstein level theories that are presenting this information to you as if it's brand new, no one's ever heard it before, E equals MC squared, boom, airway. Like, that's not what's happening there. So I would caution you from thinking that anything that's happening at an airway conference is special. Oh, and I do want to distinguish that I don't put airway in the same category as dental sleep medicine. In fact, I think dental sleep medicine is significantly better for reasons that are coming really, really soon. Okay. So, how can you grow and scale wiser and smarter? Because going to a conference is strictly a tactic. You can be tactical in other ways that make your strategy of growing your business significantly more effective. So, here's what I want you to do instead: invest in unique areas, okay? Like dental sleep medicine. Nobody in dental sleep medicine is talking about myofunctional therapy. I have very recently been able to penetrate that wall and get people to start thinking about it. And the more I'm talking about it, there are people like, wow, I have heard of this before, or I've attended certain lectures before, or I've seen online webinars before about this topic, but I really didn't get how it related to dental sleep medicine because nobody was ever talking to me as a provider that does sleep appliances, that does mandibular advancement devices. Like, nobody was talking to me about how we work together. They're talking about how they can reduce AHI. They're talking about how they can help with sleep apnea. They're not saying how we can work together. And I'm like, duh, it just is smart. You want to be in a room of people that don't know what myofunctional therapy is. You want to be the person that blows their mind, that they remember. Be in a room full of people who need to know about myofunctional therapy, not in a room full of people who already do. Those people won't value you because, as far as they're concerned, look around. If you look around that airway room, you're in abundance. There's plenty of you. You're not special. But if you're in a dental sleep medicine room, how many myofunctional therapists are there? It might be you and one other person. It might be you and two other people. It might be you and you alone. If you're in a dental conference, how many myofunctional therapists are there? It might be you and three other people, if tops. Less than 1% of myofunctional therapy is being practiced and implemented in dentistry. Less than 1%. Just take that, think about it. You don't want to be in a room where there's a bunch of you. You want to be in a room where you shine, okay? Community events, great places to do that kind of stuff. Chamber of Commerce events. If you have a Chamber of Commerce, join that. Why are you flying across the country to go see some people speak? That's not going to grow your business. That's not going to grow your skills because, again, it's very surface level, the content that they will be giving. And all of the content, I know as a speaker, all of the content is designed to help you want more. That way you can now come into their world. So just go into their world. Like, why? You don't have to listen to me speak in order to come and to find what else I'm teaching. Don't travel for me. I'm not going to say that. If you're going to be at RDH Under One Roof, that's a very valuable conference. Please come to that conference and tell them specifically that you're coming to see me. But you want to be in these small community spaces because that's your people. Those are the people you're going to help. You're going to meet the parents, you're going to meet the TMJ people, you're going to meet the people who need your services. Okay. Lean into relationship based networking. You can grow or start your own mastermind. There are lots of local networking study clubs. Those are fabulous. Make sure you're joining those types of things so that you can be a part of the world that is going to be really pushing forward a community of referrals. Like you want to be in those kinds of spaces. If you don't have that space offline, curate that space in forums that are online, in an OMT for the RDH, in the Myo community on Facebook. Grow it on LinkedIn. You can grow it. You want to use strategy growth levers. There is nobody that has more organic reach for myofunctional therapy, not paid ads, organic reach for myofunctional therapy than I do right now. SEO is on point. I've got so many websites with so many different things going on. I've got all of these videos, all of this content, SEO rich. I am putting out constant things. It's always going. Back in 2021, I was spending $500 a month every month for a while on SEO strategies and tactics with a professional company that was doing the things. But then it got to the point where, hello, I know how to do these things. So I do them on a whole nother level. Like, spend your time and your money in learning ways that are going to actually push you and propel you in the right way. You want to be strategic. Okay. You want better patient education. You want more integrative services. You want to make sure that you are pushing yourself forward. So if you've always wanted to do primitive reflexes, go for it. Go for it. Don't spend that money on a conference you don't need to be at. Go for it. And invest smarter. Like I said, I'm obsessed with Lois Laney, absolutely obsessed with Lois Laney. And if I ever hit the lottery, I'm giving her a good chunk of that change because that's what it would require for her to mentor me. But that is how I would much rather spend my money and my time one on one, learning from the greats, the people that I admire the most. I would much rather spend my time and my money on that. I love Angie Lehman. I don't know why that just came to mind, but I was like, I love Angie Lehman. I have not gone to visit her business, OMT of York, and I need to do so. Like, that needs to be a thing that I just spend my money on. Like, I could see her at conferences and when she's places, but I could also just go and see where she is and what she's doing. So, like, I'm going to plan that, Angie. I don't know if you watch these. You probably don't, but I'm coming. I'm going to go see you. Okay, it's really important that you're aware that your business is unique. Your practice of myofunctional therapy or your impending practice of myofunctional therapy or your practice of dentistry is unique. And so just going on one tactical strategy alone is not going to be the thing that helps to grow you. You're unique in that you are a delicate flower. Delicate flower in a way that is not to be made offensive. Okay. You're a delicate flower in a way that is supposed to be nurtured. Allow yourself to nurture yourself. Not all flowers grow with the same amount of sunlight, same amount of water, same amount of anything. Feel free to nurture yourself uniquely. Don't have to follow the mold and go to all of the Airway conferences. You can be the special individual that you are, but you're worthy of more. And I won't be at any of those conferences. And so if you're looking to see me, you probably won't see me in a multitude of ways. But just know that if you ever do want to see me, you can do so at any time. I've always said we can chat. It's always been available. My calendar is always open for you. I'm your Myo best friend. This is what I do. I provide you with my time. Okay. So with this, I'm going to bid you adieu. I am so glad to have you as one of my Myo friends. And I look forward to seeing you at a regular conference because those Airway conferences, that's not it. Bye, loves.